Alex, whenever you're ready. Nick, just quick question. You see that chat box on the top right? There's those notification things. They're kind of that's fine. They're not like, oh, there's that like lap times and stuff. Because I'm just a bit confused by them. Like, there's the chat box there, and then there's the GT3 pop-up thing. I'm just thinking that's not, is that on stream or is that just on the overlay here? Cool, thank you. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, one and all, to another week of the Atlantic Sim Racing League for another 40-minute sprint. GT3 GR86. It's multi-class. It's Friday night sim racing. What more could you want here on iRacing? And as you can see, if you were here last week, a much increased field size and some new format changes as well. We'll get into those a little bit later. We've got the GT3s going around for their 10-minute qualifying session here at Sebring International Raceway, a brilliant venue for the second round of the season. 19 drivers in total in the GT3 class this week, 9 as you can see in the GR86 class. And one of those format changes I mentioned right at the top of the show is that we have a new qualifying format. 20 minutes total, 10 minutes are given to each class, starting with GR86. There's the Toyota Cup cars, they get 10 minutes, and they've had their 10 minutes. So the standings you can see on your screen right now are the final standings for the 40-minute race that will be done with a rolling start this week. That is the other major format point. To run you through, though, the total field this week, it's a bigger field, 19 drivers in GT3 alone, a big grid. Cannot wait to see what it's gonna throw up. Of course, the regulars from last week are returning, chief among them Nate Campbell and John Russell, who are currently sitting inside the top 3 in the BMW and the Ferrari that have returned once again. And we do indeed have some chat as well. Brad Moran, he's in the GT3 class as well. He's in GR86, I should say, running second in that class this week. The only returning driver, from what I know, is James Barrington, who's going to start 6th, as the 3 other drivers have not taken themselves into into the act of qualifying. They're going to start from the back, so it'll be interesting to see what those guys can do, whether there is a pace deficit. Here, though, are the lap times. And it is John Russell with a 2-minute point 2. I mean, barely even any kind of time between him and Nate Campbell, as we saw it last week. And then they've got a whole second of an advantage to them at the moment over Rene French in a Lamborghini this week. So he's running a slightly different machine for the moment. Of course, there is no restrictions as to what cars you can run in GT3. It's very much a case of wherever you want to run, you can do so to your pleasing. A lot of new drivers, and of course we will ensure that they get their fair mention on the broadcast. We've even got a Rexy livery. That is absolutely brilliant. I think that is Matthew Kamanzuli there in 6th, running a brilliant livery. Brilliant livery in real life. Made its debut here, that livery, at Sebring back in 2023 at the 12 Hours. The IMSA event was where Rexy made its debut. Went on to win a championship 2024. Plenty of success in its GTD Pro class. Plenty of interesting liveries, it must be said. There is the Ford, I think the only Ford from what I know, this week in the possibly in the field. We've got a couple of cars there. I think that's Joshua Durden, Jacob Durden, that is, running the only Corvette, the Canadian flag livery, used by, I'm showing my sports car racing nerdery here, used by AWA Racing, Canadian team as well, Canadian driver running that operation. It's Ore Fadani's team that ran that livery at Le Mans last year. They're going to be running it at Le Mans this year as well, and they've gained another entry into the 24 Hours Le Mans through the IMSA Bob Aiken Award, which gives the gentleman drivers, the amateur drivers, their shot at getting to Le Mans through the IMSA pathway. And of course, I imagine many of these guys will be doing the Major 24 in a couple of weeks' time, which is probably the biggest sim race in the world, or at least from an accessibility multiplied by significant standpoint. And these cars themselves, these GT3s, all going to be used in that event alongside the LMP2s and the GTPs, mirroring real life, of course. So I think we're pretty much halfway through the session from what I can see. We are into the 159s already. That is Nate Campbell going fastest once again. Russell's back in 5th. It's an incredibly tight field at the top. Matthew Kamanzuli, there's a crash there between one of the Fords and one of the Corvettes down at Sunset Bend. Of course, we're going to have to watch that. We've got more GR86 Cup cars this time round, and we will be seeing lap traffic and these GT3s having to navigate them. If it does come at Sunset Bend, don't be surprised if any carnage does occur, because of course it happens plenty in real life during the 12 hours of Sebring. During any other race events you'll get at Sebring, Sunset Bend is one that is prone to carnage, and it rarely fails to give us carnage in both the sim racing world and the real world. Run you through then the cars we have on track at the moment, just to clear up the GT3 roads. At least it is Nathan Campbell currently on provisional pole. Then it is Adrian Versen in the BMW. The BMW seems to be the faster well, judging by the stats, it's the fastest car because it's locking out the front row. Matthew Jones in the Ford, the number 13 Ford that is, and then it is Matthew Camazuli in Rexy, Jonathan Russell in P5, Tristan Richard and Jake Champion are next up. And looking further down the order, we've got Nico Grinham, Daniel Salmon in excuse me. There you've got Sean Perry, Rene French in P11. Chris Tetford is P12. Jacob Durden is in P13. To run you through the last few, you've got Ty Richard down there. I think it's in 17th. The broadcast just cut the graphics, just made it disappear, but that's what you get when you've got such a bumper field. Can't so many. We can't fit them all on the same broadcast tower. I think, judging by the sound that we're getting, I'd say that indeed we have. Qualifying looks to be over. And to look at this field spread, it's what, 2 seconds covers about 17 cars. And GR86 is actually getting even more competitive as well, from what I can see, with the field spread of 5 seconds, but 3 cars, top 4, all within 2 seconds of each other. But a lot of action coming up for you. A total of, I mean, if I do the maths, I think it's 8 manufacturers all involved: Lamborghini, BMW, Porsche, Corvette, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Ford, and McLaren. So, well, call it 6 then. But no, it should be a great race. With now just looking for the changeover, we're going to have a lap under the pace car, so it's going to be a rolling restart, start and everything. Coming into this one, it's going to be BMW on the front row, and actually no, Matthew Jones got in there, just a 10th behind Nathan Campbell, who will be eager to try and get that first win on the books. Of course, had a few issues last time out at Virginia Raceway, and he'll be looking for a cleaner run. He's starting on pole position. If you can get it down into turn 1 as the pace car loads in and waits for our competitors. There they all are loading in now. Campbell with a slightly different livery, I think, this weekend. But always fair in sim racing. There they are, loading up. I've got to say the Golf Corvette, lovely touch. That is Nico Grinham. In that car, we've also got the other Corvette, the AWA-inspired Corvette that we saw earlier in the booth. If I find any other interesting liveries, to so many cars, it's hard to keep track of them all at the moment. I'm just waiting to load in. We've got an entire lap to get used to these cars and get everybody's names down and everybody sorted out. So we'll do that for you, I'm sure. As they begin their pace lap. waiting for them actually to the pace car to pull over, but it does do so now. And there, well, I'm doing the maths, is a almost 30 strong field for tonight's race. A brilliant turnout, must be said. Field headlined, of course, by that BMW Ford pairing of Nate Campbell, Matthew Jones, Adrian Werson in P3. Then alongside him, Matthew Camanzuli, before it is Ty Richard getting up into P5. That's a great result for him. Jonathan Russell, who we saw be so competitive last time out, only good enough for P6, just shows how much more impressive this field has got, how bolstered this field is on this second weekend of racing. Ty Richard there in 7th, the top 10 completed by Jake Champion, Nico Grinham and Sean Perry. That is your GT3 field top 10. Of course, there's plenty more that will get you updated on and everything. It is in the GR86 class, which we saw have only, I think it was 4 members last week, 4 or 5 competitors. So a very big increase in participation there, which is brilliant to see, because I mean, I have a bit of a soft spot for the GR86 Cup car. I'm not one to love a bit of understeer. In fact, I prefer oversteer myself in terms of the fact you can control it and understeer controls you. That's what I've always said. But it's a fun little car. It was in, of course, the iRacing 24 Hours of the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago. And it will be in the Nürburgring Endurance Championship race that will be taking place over the weekend. If you're going to do that, maybe worth checking it out, because it's a brilliant little car. Heading in towards Sunset Bend, the biggest field we've ever had, a field worthy of a season finale, much less, let alone week 2. It is week 2 of the Atlantic Sim Racing League. The pace car is going to pull off, the revs are going to rise as they storm out of Sunset Bend. And the green flag is in the air for week 2. Already, they're starting to fan out in the run down to turn 1. We're going to go side by side. Both Fords are sandwiching Nathan Campbell in the BMW. Is he going to try and hold it round the outside? Hopefully everybody gets through cleanly, which they have done, but no, there's going to be a few cars going wide. And there's a carnage into turn 1. Carnage into turn 1. I think that might be the BMW started on the first row of the grid. It's Nathan Campbell. Nathan Campbell, I think, is possibly turned round into turn 1. There's a Ferrari off as well. It's all gone horribly wrong for a fair few drivers here. Nathan Campbell and Adam Werson are going to lead the field. Both of the Fords it is the Fords that have come to strife here at the start of the race. We feared that might happen. 19 cars into one, just doesn't go. And what I thought for a second they might be able to get through cleanly, that's not happened in the case. And Nathan Campbell, for the second time in 2 weeks, finds himself in a brilliant position. He's leading the race once again, ahead of his BMW compatriot of Adrian Werson, who's held it up in P2. We'll get you an updated list of everybody who's come to strife on the opening lap. I think just by the track map, they're one of the GR86 winners. A couple of them might be in the pits as well. But Carl Scott, I think Taming might have made a bit of a mistake there, because you can see the GR86 cars, meanwhile, look at this for some drama. You've got the GT3s that have crashed out into turn one, trying to make their way through the GR86 traffic that's having its own incredible little battle here. It's Tim O'Connor who makes contact with Ben Warren, and I think he's going to go run onto the grass. Yes, he is. One of the Porsches is also taking to the grass as it goes side by side with one of the Fords there. There's Nico Grinham making his way through the field, but the battle for the lead is still incredibly strong. In fact, I don't think it is the battle for the lead, because Tim O'Connor has set down the road. Here is side by side. I think that's Charles Thetford and Brian Smith going side by side into the Sunset Bend, as they're all starting to sort themselves out. Now, currently, it's Jake Champion being scored as the leader. I think that is a glitch on the timing. We'll get that updated for you, because now it's saying Renee French's. Now it restores itself. Nathan Campbell leads by I think, well, possibly 2.5 seconds. I'm not quite sure, over Adrian Weston. Riding on board then with the with the McLaren of Brian Smith, side by side with Carl Scott in the other McLaren, the United Autosports Weckenspire. They're still side by side through turn one. This is a bit of a great ding-dong battle here at the start of the race. Who's going to get the better exit? Oh, there's a Lamborghini off as well. That is Renee French, who's gone round there out of turn three. So more drama being kept right into lap 2 here. Goodness me, how long will it take for this race to settle down? No, I don't think it will, because there is Ben Warren. Brad Warren going down the inside of Tim O'Connor for the race lead in the GR86 Cup class. Great racing here, and they seem to be doing a ding-dong battle all day long. Here is the McLaren side by side once again. Brian Smith and Carl Scott. Mason McDonald thinking, where does he want to place his Ferrari to try and get round the outside of these two as well? They're still doing it. Great job of keeping that clean. Here, though, is your GR86 Cup class field, which 1 week later is showing us a brilliant bit of action. You've got Tim O'Connor and Brad Warren side by side there. Here, meanwhile, is, I think that's Tyler Richard with Matthew Camanzuli battling for 4th at the moment. So these two still going hammer and tong with two Porsches kind of running their own race. They've lost a lot of time on Jake Champion, who's made his way up from, I think, about 7th or 8th from the grid, up to P3, 3.5 seconds back from the leading Nate Campbell, who's found himself in quite a fortuitous position, because he's only got one car to really worry about, which is Adrian Werson, who's already 2.5 seconds back. So could this be the week for Nathan Campbell, where everything goes right and he has a much easier time of things? Here is that battle we mentioned earlier. Mason McDonald trying to chase down Carl Scott, because Brian Smith has already stormed away. Bear in mind that there's 40 minutes here, so it's not quite the endurance aspect of it that's focusing on. It's very much a sprint race. Here are the GR86 Cup cars runners. Don't be fooled, because the slipstream can be quite powerful in these machines. So it might look like it's becoming a bit of a train. It really isn't. We've got Brad Warren leading from Tim O'Connor by about half a second. This actually is the closest class. In fact, back there is Matt Potter and Graham Garber being overtaken there. That's Nico Grinham making his way through the field. So I wonder if he's had another incident. Nathan Campbell is being scored as 2 laps down, but I think that is just a timing glitch. So we'll wait for just to see confirmation whether he has had a mistake or something like that. Side by side there in the background. This is the battle for the lead. Nico Grinham is still making his way through this field, down into turn 1. Here is Tyler Cutting and Graham Garber going side by side into turn 1. Could that be a brilliant move? We'll have to wait and see as we cut towards Nathan Campbell. Seems to already be lapping one of the Porsches, if I'm correct in saying that. Connor and Warren, meanwhile, are still swapping the lead seemingly every half second as we ride on board with the BMW that leads the motor race with only 5 minutes in. I'll just add that you can see on your screen the total amount of time yet to run. They're already halfway through the course, halfway up to lapping the GR86 runners. The GT3 is headed by, of course, Nathan Campbell. Here is a battle between Tristan Richard and looks like it's Jacob Durdham in the Corvette. Ahead of them is Tyler Richard. On the inside of the Corvette's going to go. I don't think that Tristan Richard's going to have enough to fight this around the outside of Sunset Bend. Well, you never know. He's going to get him in slipstream, but I think the Corvette just had a slightly better getaway out of Sunset Bend. There is more side-by-side action, and this is Rene French recovering from that spin on the last lap. Mason McDonald is now under significant pressure from the Lamborghini in the Ferrari, and there's another Ferrari behind. Managed Jonathan Russell, so I think he was definitely caught up in that first corner collision. Oh goodness me, French wanted to have a look at the inside, a bite of the cherry up on the inside at turn 1, but it was never going to work out really. Mason McDonald had a great bit of defending there. So Jonathan Russell had a bit of a nightmare in turn 1. He was involved in the carnage that we saw down at turn 1. He's now recovering back. He's right up on the back of that little battle. Here is Tristan Richard trying to go around the outside of Charles Tedford in the Porsche, it must be said. As we cut back to Mason McDonald, Rene French still trying to find a way past him. A Lamborghini, is he going to have a look on the inside? There's a couple of overtaking opportunities coming up now, and there goes Rene French, there goes the Lamborghini. Will he be late enough on the brakes? Will he get it stopped? Yes, he will. So that move is a lovely one for the only Lamborghini in this field. He's certainly turning that Lamborghini around in good usage. There goes the Ferrari. Meanwhile, Jonathan Russo with a late lunge up the inside of Mason McDonald. So Mason was in chat there. He said he's seen the hard work that McDonald puts in. He deserves this. Well, he's just lost 2 spots, so we'll have to put even harder work to try and get back up into that top 10 that he was running in before Russell and French just stole his thunder a little bit there. Here is Matthew Cavanzulli closing right up on the BMW. I think that is Adrian Worson. This could be for 3rd place. He's still being scored in 2nd, but I think we'll get an update as it crosses the line as to who exactly that is. It could well be a lap traffic, you know. I think it is. Yes, it is. It's the number 25. So that is lap traffic to negotiate. We're already getting lap traffic in GT3s here at Sebring. Well, I wanted to say earlier, Sebring promises chaos, Sunset Bend promises chaos, and that's exactly what it's delivered. Meanwhile, this battle for the lead in GR86 will not go away. We've got Brad Warren there in the 12, trying to do all he can to defend from Tim O'Connor. These two have traded the lead more times than I can think to count. Here goes Tim O'Connor, illustrating my point up the inside at turn 10. Can he get it slowed down enough? Yes, he can. Solid move there. But what that's allowed to do is is Benoit, who's going to make his way up into 2nd position on the drag race down to the final chicane. Yes, he's got that done. So Benoit has made up a position and turned this into a 3-way fight. There you can see Tyler Cutting, who's 3 seconds back from this leading trio, who are just sticking right by each other, going down onto the back straight that leads down towards Sunset Bend. Meanwhile, Cavanzulli's closed right up on Jake Champion up there in GT3, but we'll stay with these guys for now because lead battle, of course, it is Benoit who set the fastest lap of the race there. So he's come back from a bit of a deficit, and he's now going to maybe think about the race lead almost into Sunset Bend, but wasn't alongside Tim O'Connor enough. He's going to send it to the inside though. Will he be able to get the run up the inside? He might be able to, and Warren's going to try and follow him through there. They are side by side now, so Warren's going to be in the slipstream. Brad Warren, as Benoit is going to cut to the outside. They're side by side for the race lead, or the class lead, down towards turn 1. And where's Warren going to feature into? Is he going to send the bit back up the inside? He is, you know, as Benoit goes super wide. Is he going to try and hold it around the outside? Yes, he will. It won't quite be enough. Goodness me, what a battle we're having. And there is Nathan Campbell, and there are the GT3 runners who are going to be starting to make their way through the lap traffic here. And he's going to have to be careful because these 3 are holding no quarter as they run through the first sector. I think he's caught them at quite a good time. He's going to weave through traffic a little bit there because Benoit made his life a bit more difficult pulling to the outside. In the end, Nathan Campbell eases his way past the lead battle in GR86. I really hope we stay with these guys because they're proving a bit of a ding-dong. There goes the There goes Worsen on the inside. He's got himself caught up in this at the bottom of the hairpin, and there is a bit of contact there between the leading cars, O'Connor and Warren, getting into it. I think that might have been caused because it was a late lunch from Worsen in the BMW to get past the lap traffic. In the end, though, I think it's all going to come down to a bit of rubbing his racing. There is the Porsche as well. That I don't think it's Camanzuli. He's dropped 10 seconds on Worsen and the leading BMW pairing. There is the Porsche trying to make his way around, and indeed will get through pretty quickly, pretty cleanly, as this lead battle still now raging. The lap traffic, it isn't proving as much of a difficult factor as I perhaps thought. You've got Brad Warren in the number 12 running half a second off the lead. He's now having to defend from Benoit, as there goes Matteo Camanzuli. Behind him is that lap BMW we saw earlier. I'll have to try and find who that is for you in the number 25 machine. It's all starting to get a little bit jostly now, because again these GT3 runners are hitting the traffic, and this is where it gets very, very interesting, because again, if you catch these GR86 Cup cars at the wrong point on the circuit, then you could be losing a lot of time. Here meanwhile is Rene French. He's already running inside the top 10. Now trying to challenge with Bryce, but they're going to go 3 wide with the traffic down towards Sunset Bend. Hopefully they can get themselves sorted out for this. Oh, look how close he was running to the wall there, Rene French, in the Lamborghini. In the end, it's an easy move up to the inside at Sunset Bend, using traffic to good advantage. But look up ahead what they've got to navigate. It's incredible the amount of traffic that's being thrown in their way this weekend. Here is the battle for the last of the running cars in the GR86 Cup class. As Kyle Scott gets through, it is Matt Potter and Graham Garber as we cut forward now to Brian Smith's McLaren. There is Brandon Warren, and that's what traffic can do to you, because look at the gap that Brad Warren now has to try and close back up to Tim O'Connor because of this GT3 traffic like swamping through them. And that gap is now sitting at 1.6 seconds. So the lead battle broken up. Nathan Campbell still leads here on lap 6. And we haven't just got the lap traffic to navigate. We've got the pit stops to navigate later on in the race. Now, I think based on last week, we're going to be seeing them about 15 minutes or so until the end as we look to this battle. Rene French has made it past Brian Smith. He's made it past Jonathan Roussel, who is trying to kind of recapture that form from last week that he had. Great run from Jonathan Roussel at Virginia, and he's hoping to try and just make the spots up that would allow him to do that. Here he goes down the inside of Brian, but Brian's just going to close the door, and that's going to force Roussel to check up mid-corner. He'll lose the momentum, and he'll have to wait and now, I think, try towards Sunset Bend. Here is a battle for second, though, while Tim O'Connor's finally been able to get up the road a little bit. It's now Benoit and Brad Warren who are doing the battle for us in GR86, which is giving us a better battle than the GT3s. I did not think I'd be saying that this week, but here we are, and I'm all the better for it in this race. This is what multi-class can give you. It gives you two lead battles to follow, while you've got Nathan Campbell who's stretching his lead all the while. You've got the GR86 Cup cars, the small little plucky understeering machines. I think we've got somebody in the pits there might do. Yeah, James Barrington is in the pits at the moment, as is as is Bannerman's in the 16. Here then is on board with what looks to be Jake Champion, who's lost out to Tristan Richard in the Aston Martins. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but he's sent it back up the inside. He's completely overcooked it on the brakes from what I can see there. We've cut away to Rene French's Lamborghini. Jonathan Roussel still trying to get past the McLaren of Brian Smith. Still trying to get past the McLaren. So I think Smith's basically overtaken Roussel again there. I'm just trying to check the names if I go a bit quiet. I've got it up on my screen. And here we go now on board with Roussel, trying to get the better of Brian Smith, and you can see on his onboard, you can see him getting the slipstream there as we cut to Jake Champion. He's losing considerable time, which is surprising because he was at a great start. Kind of profited from all that carnage we had in the very first corner of the race, and he somewhat slipped back, which I thought was kind of surprising because he seemed to have the pace in the first couple of laps or so to stick, or at least solidify what was P3 at the time. So he slipped back now. Here, meanwhile, is Rene French's Lamborghini, who seems to be sticking with the action all the while, trying to close up on Chris Tepford's Porsche there. What do you think about a move down into turn one? I don't quite think so. As we ride on board through this first sector, it's always super crucial to get it right and get yourself a good run down towards the hairpin. That's exactly what Rene French has done. He's going to put alongside the Porsche, and it's going to be a very simple move. I think it's a drag race of sorts down towards the hairpin, but Rene French has the inside line, and he shouldn't be coming under too much pressure. I shouldn't think, because he's going to have the corner as well, and indeed it is a very easy time of things for Rene French up the inside there. But what we're seeing now is a bit of a train for him, because behind the Porsche of Chris Tepford making his debut in the series this weekend and having a fine debut running in the top 10 as we run, you've got Jonathan Russell still trying to make up from that earlier contact as well. Here is Tristan Richard, who's up into P5. There is Josh Durden in the Jacob Durden in the AWA Corvette number 22, chasing down Jake Champion, who could fall to 7th here if he's not careful. Brian Smith now trying to close up on Jonathan Russell once again, who's made it past the McLaren man. And it is Russell now all over the back of Chris Tepford, trying to relegate him to 10th place and just solidify that what would be another brilliant drive from the Ferrari man. He's had that, again, we had that kind of first lap carnage we saw, and he's just recovering from that over the course of this 40-minute sprint race. Not quite going to have the run down into turn one. Here we look at Adrian Werson, who is being scored in the lead of the race. Now here's a look at the pits, and that is Nathan Campbell. So Nathan Campbell, the first of the pit stops in the race. Of course, we've got to make one. Every driver must make one pit stop because they haven't got enough fuel to make it to the end. It's an earlier stop than last week. I thought that maybe we'd be seeing them a bit later on. There, I think, was Chris Tepford spinning his way into the pits. So he's going to join them now. So this is where we get things that are interesting. I can see Jonathan Russell. You can see on that white little marker on the side of their nameplates that they're in the pits. It's that white box that with the pit wording on it. So Adrian Werson will take charge of this race by 3.7 seconds over Matthew Camanzuli. Tyler Richard, he has risen to third ahead of Tristan Richard, according to timing. Although it's jumping around a little bit, so I know that Tyler Keeping is not in 4th place. So there are a few things going around as we cut back to the lead battle in the GR86 Cup class. It is Tim O'Connor, it is Brad Warren. They're neck and neck running out of turn one. It is Warren who's going to re-establish the lead in the GR86 Cup class. Meanwhile, here comes Tim O'Connor, who's going to be in his slipstream all the way into turn one. He's not going to be able to make a move down the inside as they go underneath the Lexus bridge. It's full sand into that corner. You're getting on the brakes as little as you can. Now there is Benoit on the back of Tyler Cutting, who's made it into P3. So I don't think we've seen pit stops yet from these GR86 Cup cars. There is Jonathan Russell, who is just coming out the pits in 10th place, from what I can see, as the fast lap still with Benoit. Timing's properly sorted itself out now. There is Nathan Campbell, who is running 9th as we stand, ahead of Carl Scott. So that's kind of where Adrian Werson will come out just behind him, possibly lose out to Scott actually, because the gap's 3 seconds between Campbell and the McLaren behind him. It will be interesting to see when these top guys pit, because we saw pit strategy last week prove so crucial. And it might do this week because Nate Campbell has just taken the race's fastest lap in the GT3 class. So he's stretching his lead all the while from Carl Scott and closing in on Brian Smith. But he's got 2 seconds to find there. What I really want to focus on right now is we've still got this great battle between Matt Potter and Graham Garber. And Potter runs slightly wide. That's going to allow Garber to go on the inside there, side by side. And I think it's Garber who's going to get the momentum. Indeed, he does. Will take that position as Tom O'Connor now is going to do some defending because Brad Warren is going to have the slipstream all the way up into the chicanes and down the back straight towards Sunset Bend. So the top four kind of converging once again. The pace differential is almost non-existent really in this one so far. Here is Brad Warren riding on board with the Toyota GR86 Cup car, and look at the way he's pushing Tim O'Connor through the corner now. He's going to have a great run down towards Sunset Bend. The question is, when do you pull out? When do you make your big type on? Well, it might be happening now because Brad Warren is closing all the way up to the back of the Toyota of Tim O'Connor. They're side by side going down into Sunset Bend. This is for the race lead for about the umpteenth time tonight. He's going to do it, you know, because O'Connor is trying to run wide, conserving that momentum. But all that's done is not only has he lost out to Brad Warren, he's lost out to Tyler Cutting as well, who's shown great pace to get back into the lead battle now as Benoit is watching these three duel over the finish line again. We've got about 15 minutes remaining. Here comes Tyler Cutting trying to go into the race lead. Not quite that time. He's going to stay on the inside though, and he's going to have a run down towards turn two. He kept his nose in there. Brad Warren's going to have to do a lot of defending this time by. Will hold the position for now. Tyler Cutting is the man of the moment because he's stormed up to P2 right now, and he looks to be the fastest of the GR86 runners on the track right now. To update you on the pit lane situation, Campbell has got out ahead 2.5 seconds of a Worson. So the undercut worked for Campbell, not quite so for Worson, because Carl Scott's in between them right now. Ahead of them is Brian Smith, Rene French, and it's the two Richards that lead overall. It's Tyler Richard ahead of Tristan Richard. Here is the race leader, the race leader of Tristan Richard ahead of Johnny Ballarans. There is the other Richard of Tyler Richard as well. So this should be pretty easy to navigate the GR Cup cars at the moment as we cut back to the battle for the overall lead. There is the number 14 Porsche of, well, I can't quite see who that is. It is, no, I can't quite, I think that's that's Sean Perry, of course. Here is the BMW of Nate Campbell right on the back of Brian Smith. He's closing up all the while. There is Graham Garber, who they're going to have to navigate, who's kind of lost that battle. Or actually, Matt Potter, who's won the battle with Graham Garber, I should say. And oh goodness me, there's a spinner there, and did a brilliant job to avoid that. I think that's Tyler Cutting. He was battling for the race lead. He's now fighting the wrong way on the Sebring Raceway, and goodness me, that is a big drama for Tyler Cutting. He possibly had the pace. The challenge for the class win today got horribly wrong, and good awareness on these GT3 runners to avoid any contact as Tyler Richard will run solidly and have that 2 seconds advantage. Now, interesting that they're going a lot longer, this top four, trying to catch out Nate Campbell, but I don't think it's worked because Campbell is sitting about 5 or 6 seconds behind these guys. I mean, the total is almost 7 as Brian Smith enters the pit, and so too does Tim O'Connor. So the race leader in GR86 has gone in there. Getting on the headlights is Nate Campbell as Benoit and Brad Warren do battle for the class lead, and here goes Benoit on the inside line. This might be the move, you know. It is going to be the move. A side by side once again, Graham Garber and Matt Potter, new race leader. Finally, he's taken the fastest lap quite some time ago. It is Benoit in the lead of the race, gets it all wrong out of turn two, and that's going to allow Brad Warren to storm his way back around the outside. So they're going to be side by side into the hairpin once again. A brilliant battle. GR86 has kept me entertained all the way through. We've still got 15 minutes of this as well when the pit stops finally come around. Benoit will hold the inside over Brad Warren, who's going to just try and get a good run out of the hairpin. I think he might have done that, you know, as they storm through this next part of the track. It is Brad Warren who's got the upper hand. He's going to have to try and use that slipstream to his advantages. Adrian Werson goes through there around the outside on these two cars, holding a slightly wider line as Warren. He's just trying to do everything he can to get up to the back of Benoit and overtake and take the class lead. To update you on everything else, so it's still Brian Smith of those top four who pitted. Brian Smith are the only one to do so. So Rene French and the Richards of Tyler and Tristan are just trying to hold out for as long as they can, but I fear it's not worked because Nathan Campbell, under 3 seconds now is the gap between him and Rene French, who we've known has had great pace. Here is the net race leader with a 10-second advantage. He's really stretched it out, you know. 10 seconds is the gap to Adrian Werson. Matthew Camanzuli is currently running P3. We'll have to wait and see if it should keep him in third. But really, the gaps we're looking at now should be pretty constant. In GT3. You'll have to excuse me if I'm yawning a couple of times. It is currently 2:30 in the morning over here in the UK, where I'm commentating from. Happy as always to do it. I gotta say, brilliant racing we're seeing here today. I love commentary, really. That's why I'm doing it, and I love this racing and I love this league. It's a great community to be a part of. If you are watching the broadcast and you're wondering how you can take part in this absolutely awesome racing, is actually Tyler Richard does come in, as does Tristan Richard, as does Rene French. So those three guys getting out of the way. They're going to cycle back, I think. Could well cycle back into fourth, fifth and 16th feet. They have. So really, that's a brilliant bit of pit strategy there from those guys. They've jumped about 5 or 6 places, each of them, as they're now starting to filter through. There is Tristan Richard. As Rene French has now got Jake Champion right on his back bumper. So Jake Champion with a chance to improve his position, but also the French and the Richards gaining a lot of time there through just pitting as late as possible with 12 minutes to go. This would be a great position for them to find themselves in, maybe even capitalise on it, as there is Matt Jones, the Ford that was running P2. Of course, he was one of the big players involved in that turn 1 carnage, trying to go down the ends, down the outside of Kyle Scott for what is 10th place. So he's running in the top 10 now again. He's got Kyle Scott behind him, Chris Thetford behind them. So the guys that pitted later have really come to blows and lost out on a lot of time there. As Tyler Keeping is now up to 14th. I think Mason McDonald's actually retired from what Taming is saying. Here is side by side then between Tim O'Connor, who's just come out the pits, and Johnny Ballamans, who's going to try and go up the inside line. There's Mason McDonald's back. Well, I can't quite tell you. We do have Chris Thetford there, exiting the track and now coming back onto it. So he's had a spin. Has the newcomer. Here, meanwhile, is a great battle in GT3. This is the 5th place overall. Rene French, who was charging through the field earlier on down in the pit in the teens. He's now up with a chance to go to 5th place overall in the race, as Tyler the Richards are ahead of him. It's Tyler just started to streak away a little bit. Tristan there is in the Aston Martin and is doing all he can to defend his 5th place. Of course, he wants to keep it because you do get championship points here. You do get there is real stuff on the line here. There is Jake Champion trying to figure out how he can benefit from this. He's close right up through turn 1. Are we going to see a 3-wide moment? Not quite. The Champion won't have the audacity to go for it. It would have been a bit foolhardy to try and make it work there, but he's right up on these three. A great battle ensuing as we run. It's a brilliant battle developing, and Rene French is going to go to the outside. He's got the slipstream. He's going to have a difficult time of things trying to make that work into the final part of the corner, the hairpin down here. He's not going to quite outbreak himself. He's going to have to just try and stay side by side with Tristan Richard, which is what he's doing actually. So he looks like he's got past actually. But also on the timing screens, we've got Tristan Richard, who is very much there. It's actually Jake Champion who's also benefited from that. So Tristan Richard losing a couple of spots there. What this is allowed to do, this battle, is allowed Tyler to streak on ahead up into 4th place overall. Still 11 seconds back from Matthew Camanzuli, who is making his debut, and he's on. We're on course for 2 debut overall podiums with Adrian Werson and Matthew Camanzuli. Because here comes Jake Champion trying to take on Rene French and get back up into 5th place. It'd be a great comeback drive. Well, for so far it's been a great comeback drive from both of them from turn 1. think it was that French was involved in that lap one carnage, or he spun out earlier, didn't he? So that's where he's come back from. And Jake Champion is now trying to get into the top 5 for the first time in about 10 laps. But only 9 minutes to go. It's kind of turning into crunch time. Everyone's kind of made their pit stops up until now. So Nate Campbell, it has been a much easier ride of things for him so far, up in the lead by 10 seconds. But this battle at the moment could well develop into something, because Tristan Richards only 3 seconds up the road from Rene French, but he's got his rear view mirrors completely filled with Jake Champion at the moment. He's going to dive to the inside line, not quite going to be able to make it work that time round. French has got it covered off in the Lamborghini, and Champion's going to need to try and collect himself and go for it in a new location. But they run through turns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a nice little complex of corners that spits you out onto the straight. And so far, it's good. French has had all the answers to the questions of Jake Champion, who is going to have the slipstream. Is he going to be able to go for it as we cut back to the... Guess what? It's the lead battle once again. It's Brad Warren and it's Benoit. And now it's Warren who's seeking to take the lead for the umpteenth time. He's going to send it to the inside at turn 1, and that will do it. Now, what I'm noticing is that Tim O'Connor is not showing up on the timing. So whether he's had a misfortune or a malady or something like that, we'll have to wait and find out. But it's currently 5 of the 9 runners in the GR86 Cup class are still running, as it is Benoit. I know sorry, just as I said it, timing updates itself with Tim O'Connor running 4th as it stands. But I think timing is yet to update itself properly, because of course Nate Campbell is not even in the lead of the GT3 class, so that will, I'm sure, update itself. Here is that lead battle we've been mentioning, as behind him Jonathan Roussel closing up, and that will cause the car of Brad Warren to go a bit wide through the hairpin, opens up the gap between himself and Benoit as the Porsche also comes too. That is David McLeod. I haven't really mentioned his name that much, running solidly in 11th place with a chance to make it into the top 10 if he can just close up on Roussel a little bit more. Here is Jake Champion and Rene French in that battle for 5th overall. But I think he's just a bit too far back as we cut back to this is now another battle on track. Matthew Jones, and oh goodness me, the Corvette goes really wide. That would be Jacob Durden, who just gets it all wrong through Sunset, and will concede that position to Matt Jones, who's closing up into P9 at the moment. So a good comeback drive from the number 13, of course involved in that turn 1 carnage. As here comes Jake Champion, who's closing in on Rene French. There looks to be Matt Potter, who David Salmon is just closing up on now. He's closing up on Tyler Keating in the Ford. So Ford versus BMW, who we were set for that at the start of the race, and then the carnage in turn 1 up and involving, I think, both of these cars. So, oh goodness me, and it's Keeping who gets it on the grass on corner exit, and it's going to be the simplest of moves for David Salmon to move himself up into 9th overall. He's still just about on the lead lap, these guys. And Keeping in the Canadian flag liveried car in the Ford. Not quite going to have the answers for that, as we've got a pitter. Actually, I think it's possibly that's Graham Garlow who's just exiting the pits there in the GR86 class. Whether he maybe made his only pit stop super late on in the day with 5 minutes remaining. Be quite late to make your move, as there is Nate Campbell running solidly in P1 at the moment. 10 seconds or 9.5 seconds to the good of Adrian Worsney, and Brian Smith now scored in 3rd, but I think that's the timing needs to update itself, as here we cut back to the lead battle. There is Tristan O'Connor fighting for 3rd with Matt Potter, as Adrian Worsney comes through on the inside. So I don't know quite what happened to him over the pit stops. If something did happen, we didn't see it on broadcast, which is why he's so far down, 25 seconds down in fact, on Benoit and Brad Warren, who are trying to dice for the lead once again. Here is Tim O'Connor, seeing if he can at least get himself a class podium. If he can get past Matt Potter, he will be able to do so. Brad Warren now to the outside line of Benoit in the GR86 Cup class. He's going to stay on the inside and just try and use the slipstream to get any kind of an advantage he can. Pulls himself alongside the car ahead. Not quite on that occasion as Benoit just slots it through there, gets a nice run out of the exit. So these two on the run now towards the that final chicane is indeed Tim O'Connor now gets stuff up into the podium places, gets past Matt Potter. Oh goodness me, Camanzuli just charging hard, trying to close that gap to Adrian Worthington to take P2, but with only 4 minutes as we run now, it's going to be a very tall order to do so for the number 21 Porsche. GT3 is almost a full conclusion at this point. But the real undecided battle is that between Benoit and Brad Warren in GR86 Cup class. The gap is 1 second. There is Adrian Worson closing the gap over the last lap by about nearly a second, actually, on Nate Campbell. It won't be enough to challenge him for the class lead. Is oh goodness me, coming in the pits there is Brad Warren. So what that means is that Benoit, who I think has served his pit stop. I haven't recalled that Benoit has made his pit stop, but Brad Warren is now making that move now, which should give Tim O'Connor a second place back, because he's making it with 2 laps to go. So it's the ultimate splash and dash for Brad Warren, hoping that will work out. Consequently, Benoit, if he is going right to the last lap of this race, because I don't think we've seen him pit yet, so if he's going right to the end, it's going to be on an audacious move, try and hold on to the lead. As we just follow him along with the blimp at the moment, you can see that with 2 minutes 36 minutes remaining, it's going to be the final lap for these guys. It's going to be tight. There might be one more lap in it, but I think it is going to be the last lap for Nate Campbell. He moves on to it. What a race! We haven't really mentioned his name that much across the broadcast, other than he's consistently leading, because that's exactly what he has done. It is going to be one more lap for him so far before the white flag and the checkered flag fall, and it will be a brilliant race result for him. Potentially his first win in the series, as we cut back to Jake Champion trying to get past Rene French. Still trying to get past Rene French, it should be said, as they go by Brad Warren in the pits. What that's done is it's kind of, the late pit stops in the GR86 class has kind of meant that we're not going to see much of a lead battle to the flag, as Brian Smith and Tristan Richard, or no, Brian Smith, and that would be, I don't quite know. It's not, timing isn't showing me who that is exactly. I know it's Matt Jones. Sorry, it's Brian Smith and Matt Jones trying to run quite closely. There is the battle. What looks to be the battle for the podium place. Indeed it is. These two are going to the flag as well. So Tim O'Connor, he's just got past Matt Potter, but now he's going to have to do it all over again. There is going to be drama right to the end in this class. They go to start their final lap. The big question is, where is Nate Campbell? Because he's no doubt on it at the moment. I suspect he is running just through turns 3 and 4. We might have to stay with this battle if it goes on towards the last lap, because there is Brad Warren. Here, though, is Nate Campbell. He's running down towards to start the second half of the lap, and a brilliant race for him so far. He's got the fastest lap. He's got pole position. He navigated that carnage so brilliantly at the start of the race when it was the 2 Fords sandwiching the Ford and the BMW of Adrian Worson and Matt Jones, sandwiching him into turn 1, squeezed through the middle of both of them. And since then, he's basically set himself off into the sunset as Graham Garber and Johnny Ballerman come to blows. Oh no, goodness me! Garber's gone off there. It's stranded in the middle of the track, and he's luckily getting sent straight to the pits. Here is the battle between Champion and French. I want to see Nate Campbell, though, because he's surely coming up to finish his lap and finish the race. Need to see the lead across the line, of course. Here he is, coming up towards the final chicane. One last set of tricky turns to navigate for Nate Campbell. Last week at Virginia, it was not quite a comedy of errors, but it was certainly a troubling, trying time for the BMW man, the number 1 machine. He is flashing the headlights in celebration. You haven't even crossed the finish line yet, but he knows what's coming. It's a ride into the sunset for Nathan Campbell, a week on from his triumphs and his tribulations at Virginia. We come to Florida, and he will come out of Sunset Bend, and Nate Campbell will take a domineering victory here at Sebring in round 2 of the Atlantic Sim Racing League GT3 is going the way of Nate Campbell. A brilliant win in race 2 for the man who sat it on pole, and from there never really looked back once. Adrian Werson will take second on the road. It will be 2 debut podiums for Adrian Werson in the BMW and Matthew Kamanzuli, who crosses the line in a brilliant third place, 11 seconds back from the lead in the Rexy Porsche. This is where the fuel strategy comes into play. What did we say this race would be unpredictable? It has been. And for Tyler Richard, a brilliant result here. 4th place, much improved. Renee Fringe will hold on against Jay Champion by the thinnest of margins. We haven't yet seen the GR Cup winners come through. There, going through was Tristan Richard. Matt Jones will come home in 8th place as Brian Smith takes 9th. Jacob Durden will cross the line 10th. But it will be a brilliant race win for Adrien Benoit in the GR86 Cup class. A race that was fought all the way to the last lap. And when the Red Seas parted for the red GR86 car, Benoit will take a debut class win in GR86. Brad Warren will have to settle for second as Brian Smith just exits the track there for a moment. Tim O'Connor, he was looking like he might be able to have the pace to win this thing, but it will be the final spot on the podium for the purple, the best dressed, I will say, GR86 car in this field. There's still a few coming through. There is David McLeod in 12th place, who will finish behind him. It's been a trying time at times for Chris Tevin, but he'll come home 13th, a solid, respectable position. If he just hadn't had that spin, you wonder where he might have finished. There is Johnny Ballamage, who will come home 6th place overall in GR86 Cup. Stops at the line with a really close-fought battle. That is David Salmon pushing almost Nico Grinham across the line there. So battles all the way through the field. Flashes of the headlights and congratulations. We cut back to our leader, Nathan Campbell. By the looks of things, he's just done some donuts up at the finals again, and absolutely why not? It's a brilliant win for him, sporting the league's livery as well. A brilliant result for Nate Campbell, part of the broadcast team as well when he's not doing these races, so he's got extra reason to celebrate. Finally getting that win he was so close and possibly deserving of at Virginia last week. It's a lap of honour, a lap of victory for the number 1 BMW. And to have number 1 on your car is always going to throw a statement out there. He's going to just run until he runs out of fuel. I think he'll stop on the front straight, cross the front finish line once again. And this could be, are we going to see some donuts? We very much are going to see some donuts from Nathan Campbell. Brilliant result. Respecting the traditions, respecting the bumps at Sebring, and now he's letting loose on them, and he absolutely deserves to, because he, of all the drivers in that field, absolutely cruised to that race win. The number 1 at the top of the podium, the number where it was meant for. Nathan Campbell vindicating his decision to use it, and why not? I didn't even know you could do burnouts in a GT3 car like that. He's roughed up the bumper on the rear a little bit, but why not? He's not paying for any of the damages. He can just get a new car next week. But that has been a brilliant second outing here. We actually still got David McLeod still circulating on his own in-lap, as is Kyle Scott. Benoit as well, I think, might be doing something akin to what Campbell was a few seconds ago. And Matt Potter's still running around the track. But as we watch these guys just peel into the pits for one more time, an incredibly successful race from a league perspective, I must say. I haven't made the shout out yet, but I will definitely do. Nick, who runs you'll see him in the Discord and possibly in the YouTube chat as well, with the Atlantic Sim Racing League branding on his account. He does the entire broadcast, sorts out all the interviews, sorts out all the highlights and the thumbnails. An absolute machine when it comes to the marketing of this series and the broadcasting of this series, and we must say a huge thank you, because it's thankless work. It's a thankless task. I'm here getting my voice broadcast. You know who I am. You know what I'm doing. But Nick's work just goes often unnoticed, as so many broadcasters do, who are running the behind the scenes stuff. So a massive congratulations to him to getting this league where it is at the moment. But for now, my name has been Thomas Groves. You've been watching week 2 of the Atlantic Sim Racing League at Sebring. a brilliant success by all accounts. Nathan Campbell and Benoit, your race winners in class. And we will see you next Friday night. Remember, come back here this time next week for some more action, potentially an even bigger grid as we return for some more sprint action. But for now, I will let you guys go and enjoy your, wherever you are watching from the world, of course, let you enjoy your day, your night. For me, it's 2:45 in the morning and I'm heading to London tomorrow, so I need to be up and early. Not going to get much sleep, but it's worth it. And a brilliant race by all measures. And we will see you next week. Take care.
Attention to